And welcome to HS Gametime Live. I am Pep Fernandez, and we have got a ton of great highlights coming your way, plus all the scores from Week 6 of the high school football season. But first, we're going to take you out to a great scene between Poly and Arlington tonight at Ramona Stadium, where the Poly Bears welcome back Cody Smith to their sideline. Angel, let's roll that video of Cody Smith tonight. The Bears taking on Arlington in a key Inland Valley League game. These two schools both 2-0 to start league play, and it was a big one. Also in-town rivals. You got to consider that as well, as the Bears and the Lions hooked up. So Cody Smith, a great sight to see. He did the coin toss for the big game tonight at Ramona Stadium. Cody Smith, a player for Poly, also a wrestler who recently was diagnosed with a form of cancer. And yeah, you might have saw in the Monday morning pep rally and last week in the Saturday scouting report that a lot of the Bears players have shaved their heads in support of Cody. All of us here at HS Gametime, we're pulling for you also, Cody. And it was great to see him out there on the field with his jersey on, just being a part of the team. And our own Miriam Swanson caught up with Cody and also spoke with his dad, Tony, at tonight's game. And here's a little of what Cody had to say about the matchup with the Lions and also how he's feeling, how he's doing right now as he continues his fight against cancer.
Arlington, they've always been one of our toughest rivals, so it's definitely gonna be an exciting game. So I know that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I still think every time we face them, we always have that spark, and we always have that kind of form of excitement every time we play these guys. I'm always excited when we play them, so I'm definitely ready for an exciting game.
All right. So it means a lot to you to be here then?
Oh, it means a ton to me to be out here. I mean, I couldn't make it to last week's game. I feel really good to be out here.
That is so great to see Cody Smith on the Poly sideline. Now to the game, and as we mentioned, it was a big one. 2-0 against 2-0, both tied for first place in the Inland Valley League, Poly and Arlington, plus they've got that rivalry going on, being in-town rivals. So let's take you out to some of the early highlights that we got from this one. We have bonus highlights on the Saturday scouting report, but the Bears, they're trying to punch one in early for Cody Smith. Poly drove down the field. They were knocking on the doorstep from about the 5-yard line, but that stout Arlington defense keeping the Bears out of the end zone. In fact, Arlington would keep Poly out of the end zone all night long. Final score 27-3. As Arlington wins, they improve to 3-0 in the Inland Valley League. And back here live in the studio, we'll tell you that we'll have more from the Arlington Poly game in terms of highlights on the Saturday scouting reports, but it was great to see Cody and a huge win for the Arlington Lions out there. All right, we've still got a ton of highlights. As we mentioned, we'll hit the scoreboard as well, but we've got a Rev coming up, Rubidoux, Citrus Hill, and San Jacinto. The Tigers broke in their new stadium, West Valley Beaumont, so we've got a lot of highlights coming your way, and a close one between Elsinore and Paloma Valley. It was a great battle out there. Chris Erickley was at the game. He'll check in about 10 minutes with those highlights. But first, we go to the Citrus Belt League. Redlands East Valley off to a tough start this season, but they've had that daunting non-league schedule. So the Wildcats have started the season 1-3, but they're looking to right the ship against Yucaipa. And Angel, let's go out there to actually Citrus Valley High School in Redlands. And all the highlights tonight brought to you by Hsgt Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, your hometown dealer. Check out their first anniversary sale. There's the Wildcats all fired up. There's my boy, BG3, Billy Gustafson III, the quarterback for Yucaipa. Early in this one, Rev moving the ball. Taylor Thompson takes that little shovel pitch, goes in for a big gain to move the chains at least for the Wildcats. And then later, how about a little halfback pass action? And that will move the chains for the Wildcats all the way inside the 5-yard line to about the 3. But Rev was facing fourth down. They go for it, and they give the ball to Thompson, and he trots into the end zone for Rev's first touchdown. That made it 6-0 Wildcats. But BG3 goes to work. He finds Eric Abrams and Yucaipa marching down the field. And then it's BG3 to Brandon Scott, his tight end, his favorite target, the big fella, hauls it in. And that would lead to this. The running back, number 6, Shane Rush, rushing here into the end zone, and that would give Yucaipa the lead, 7-6. Now back the other way, Redlands East Valley with the ball, and they're looking to answer. Quarterback Levi Plant to Hakeem McKenzie for the big gain, and then Alonzo Anderson Number 48 with a big run right to your living room. You better watch out because here he comes. Nice run there by Alonzo Anderson. And then it's Plant, scores on the keeper later on that drive, and Rev goes back on top 12-7. Then Kylie Fitz, the USC commit, the big man making a big stop on that part of that very stingy Rev defense. And then just before halftime, the Wildcats get the ball back. Plant to Daniel Gonzalez on the touchdown pass. Redlands East Valley led 19-7 at the half, and they go on to beat Yucaipa by a final score of 36-7. So Redlands East Valley back in the win column, winning their Citrus Belt League opener against Yucaipa. All right, that was just a couple of the games. We touched on Arlington Poly. We touched on Rev and Yucaipa. Now it's time to hit the big board. Angel, let's go over there and check out some of the other scores from Week 6 of the high school football season. And check out that one in the corner. Santiago, 32, Norco, 26. Eric Paul Johnson was at the game. He'll check in the show a little bit later and kind of break down what happened out there. But 32-26, Santiago is a winner. And then looking across the board, Citrus Hill and San Jacinto. Wow, the Tigers opened that new stadium. We'll have highlights in a little bit. And they nearly knocked off Citrus Hill 30-14, so they really battled. Tony Burrill and Roosevelt, they beat King 27-20. And then Chaparral all over Murrieta Mesa 46-20. The Pumas were trying to get some Puma highlights for the big Saturday show, so check back on Saturday for highlights from that one. All right, back here in the studio, we'll update you on the HS Gametime top 10 rankings from this past week. And Angel, let's go ahead and take a look at those. The top 10, actually top 11, because we had a couple ties inside of the top 10 HS Gametime rankings this week. Number 1, Vista Murrieta, they were a winner tonight. Centennial a winner, Citrus Hill a winner, Chaparral a winner, Norco losing to Santiago. So the Cougars will slide, but how far? Murrieta Valley, they took on Great Oak tonight. They were a winner. Carter was idle because their game against San Bernardino was forfeited. Redlands a winner, Summit a winner, Redlands East Valley a winner, and Paloma Valley. Let's come back out here live, Angel. Paloma Valley taking on Elsinore. I don't want to give it away because it was a great finish. You probably already saw the score on the big screen, but Chris Erkley will be in here in about 5 minutes to break that game down as Paloma Valley and Elsinore went down to the wire. It was great. All right, HS Gametime is on Facebook. We are on Twitter. You know the drill. The hashtag for Twitter is HSGTFB. Hook us up on there. Let us know what's going on. Give us your opinion or your score. A lot of people are already checking in. We'll try to read some of these tweets and your posts throughout the night. All right, moving on. We're going to go out to Rubidoux, the Mountain Valley League. The Rubidoux, Rubidoux might be one of the favorites to bring the league crown home. And they were hosting Citrus Valley of Redlands. Let's go out there, Angel, to Citrus Valley and Rubidoux tonight. Early on, Blackhawks quarterback Dalton Douglas on the bootleg, and he's got a big gain there for the Beehawks. And then it's Citrus Valley going for the field goal. That's not going to work, and DeAndre Washington is there for Rubidoux and makes the big stop. In the second quarter, Jalen Pontius, the quarterback, drops back and hooks up with Joe Fields all the way down to about the 5-yard line, 4-5. Then that sets up this. Washington goes in for the touchdown, 7-zip Rubidoux. And then later, you got to check out this interception by Daniel Young on that Rubidoux defense. He's going to go upstairs and just grabs it, plucks that ball right out of the air for the INT for Rubidoux. And Young did the work. Time to get paid. Young takes his carry over the goal line and in for the score. Rubidoux goes on to win this Mountain Valley League game by a final score of 24-6. Now moving on to Citrus Hill and San Jacinto, now in the Mountain Pass League. And we told you earlier that it was a great game. You saw the score on the scoreboard. It was a final score of, 30-14. So Citrus Hill going on the road and spoiling a special night for San Jacinto. Let's go out there. Let's roll the video highlights, Angel. And the Tigers are breaking in their new stadium, Tiger Stadium out there at San Jacinto High School. We'll have more on their new stadium in the Saturday Scouting Report. We got a little more video of them in their big ceremony to crack it open. And things started very well for the Tigers in this one. They forced the fumble, so they get the ball back from Citrus Hill, and The San Jacinto offense, they go to work in this one. Wow, they get off to a hot start. Pedro Murrieta to Malik Kimbrough, beats his man in for the score. And San Jacinto goes up on Citrus Hill in their brand new stadium, 7-zip. And then Citrus Hill with the ball. And guess what? Those Tigers, they force another turnover. San Jacinto got off to a great start, probably riding the high of that brand new Tiger Stadium, but they would come up short, as we told you, by a final score of 30-14. So San Jacinto nearly pulling off a big win in their new stadium against the one of the top teams in our HS Gametime rankings in Citrus Hill, maybe the favorite to win the Mountain Pass League Championship this season. All right, speaking of new stadiums, a couple weeks back, we showed you the video and told you about Beaumont's new stadium. Well, Beaumont was in action tonight. Angel, let's go out there to Beaumont High School. They were hosting West Valley, and they know how to get it popping out there at Beaumont's new stadium. It was also homecoming. There's Dylan and Amanda. Congratulations, king and queen of Beaumont. That's great to see. Greg Rincon, that's also great to see. Big run there for the Cougars. And then Rincon gets the call into the end zone for the score, and Beaumont all over West Valley at that point, 38-0. But you can never count out West Valley. Lorenzo Terry is going to haul in this catch right at the goal line, and that was just before halftime. And check out this weird play. The ball's going to pop loose from the quarterback, and it's going to fall right into the hands of the good man, John Goodman. That made it 38-7 at the half. West Valley was trailing. But in the third quarter, the Mustangs still going strong. Austin Roselle, the quarterback, to Terry for the touchdown. And then Roselle, I heard he's a good man. Goodman, 75 yards on this touchdown strike. And we've got ourselves a ball game, right? Well, Beaumont, they would not let their foot off the gas. Joe Jeffers had a big game for Beaumont. About 218 yards on the ground. He's going to take this one in for the touchdown as Beaumont goes on to defeat West Valley. And where was the final score? It was, I don't have it in front of me, but Beaumont went on to a big one. Let's see if it's on the big board. Let's see. There it is, 45-26. Beaumont is a winner against West Valley, although West Valley, you saw, put up a fight there in the second half. All right, Chris Erickley is standing by with Paloma Valley against Elsinore. It was a great game. We can't wait to show you the highlights. But first, let's quickly recap Thursday night's action, including the inaugural game in the River Valley League, the maiden voyage as Norta Vista hosted Ramona. Let's take a look at those highlights. Tonight's highlights brought to you by Hsgt Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, your hometown dealer. Check out their first-year anniversary sale. I'm talking about Hsgt Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pick things up in the first quarter. Braves with the ball. Andre Castanon breaks loose 55 yards on this touchdown run, and Norta Vista goes on top 6-0. Then later, Andrew Martinez. He's going to take this one into the paint and gives Novi the 14-0 lead. The Braves all over the Rams in the first half. Justin Spillman, the quarterback, hooks up with Victor Gonzalez. Make it 21-zip, Norta Vista. But Ramona would catch a break before halftime. They force the fumble, and the Rams recover deep into Novi territory. Quarterback Damon Mays would find Malcolm Ballard to get the Rams on the board. 21-7, Ramona trailing at the half. Third quarter, Norta Vista eats up more than 8 minutes with a 17-play drive capped off by this Ulysses Leon touchdown that makes it 27-7 Braves. Then later, it's Spillman showing he can throw again to Sal Sena in for the touchdown. 34-7 Novi. Then late in the game, Ramona still trying to go through the air to get some points, but there is Danny Demas for the Braves. The pick-6 house call as Norta Vista wins the very first game in the River Valley League, 41-7.
Well, obviously, you always want to start league with a win, but I was really proud of our defense and our offensive line. The defense really did a great job of shutting down Ramona. I'm really happy with our offensive line play. We ran for almost 400 yards, and people know we're going to run the ball, and they did a great job up front.
And then our offense, our line was amazing. Quarterback had a good enough time to throw the ball, and then the running backs just ran it in.
So Norta Vista, the big winner in the very first game in the River Valley League. We'll have Patriot taking on La Sierra, also a River Valley League game a little bit later in the show. But also the other Thursday night game, North and Canyon Springs. And this game was maybe a little bit closer than a lot of people thought. Chris Erkley was at the game and has the highlights.
Some may have thought coming into the game that the North Husky offense would be too much for Canyon Springs to handle, but on Thursday night, the Cougars would not be intimidated. North would hop on the scoreboard first. It's their go-to guy in the backfield, Denzel Foster, cashing in on his first TD of the night for the 7-0 lead, but this game would be anything but easy. Mid-second quarter, we have a ball game. QB Chris Whitfield tosses up the jump ball, and just as planned, it's off the hands of the Huskies and caught by A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez for the Cougar TD. And after a missed PAT, it's 7-6 North. Still in the second quarter, North would be back at it again with their bread and butter. Denzel Foster going to work once again. He puts on his dancing shoes, shaking a couple Cougar defenders on his way to a 55-yard score. And Husky Nation is feeling good with the 14-6 lead. The ground game would begin to backfire a bit on the Huskies in the second half. Still with the 14-6 lead, Foster coughs up the pigskin, and it's recovered by the Cougars. Early fourth quarter, Christian Owens would cash in on the North turnover for the Cougars. He rolls to the left sideline and tumbles his way into the end zone. The two-point conversion is no good, now 14-12 North. Just under 4 minutes left in the game, a golden opportunity for Canyon Springs to take the lead. Just 20 yards away from a score, and pop goes the peanut. Yet another fumble, and the ball goes to the Huskies. From there, Denzel Foster would redeem himself and put the Cougars to bed with his third TD of the night as North pulls out the 21-12 win on the road.
This is a tough league. I always said we're coming into this league, and Canyon Springs has outstanding players. I tell you this, they played great tonight. I mean, they played outstanding, and you know, they shoved the ball right down our throats, and they stopped us, kept us off balance, our offense.
Welcome back. Chris Erkley will have Paloma Valley taking on Elsinore in just a moment. But first, let's go back over to the big scoreboard from Week 6 tonight in the high school football season. We'll run through all the scores real quick as we recycle the highlights and bring you the fresh stuff. As I mentioned, Paloma Valley taking on Elsinore tonight. Chris will have those. We'll also have some Patriot La Sierra action. Summit Kaiser working on some Santiago and Norco. Told you about the big win for the Sharks tonight by a final score of 32-26. So Santiago had Norco's number. So a big win for Jeff Steinberg and his Sharks tonight. Also, Arlington and Pauley. We showed you a couple of highlights from that one as Arlington went on to the big win in Inland Valley League action, 27-3. So the Lions improve to 3-0 in the IVL. And Pauley, they were inspired. They're coming off the big win against Rancho Verde. They've been playing well, and they had Cody Smith on the sidelines tonight, and they were all fired up, but Arlington gets the best of them tonight at Ramona Stadium by a final score of 27-3. And then Rev Yucaipa, you saw the video already, 36-7. The Wildcats a winner in that one. We talked about the Rev's grueling non-league schedule. They were battle-tested, and they look sharp tonight against Citrus in Citrus Belt League play against the T-Birds. Yucaipa's got a good team, so that's a solid win for the Wildcats. Rubidoux over Citrus Valley, 24-6. Citrus Hill had some trouble with San Jacinto. The Tigers had their new stadium opened, 30-14, your final score in that one. Beaumont and West Valley, the Prep Dog was at that game, 45-26. Beaumont is a winner, so they continue to be on a roll this season. La Sierra, 34-14 over Patriot. Roosevelt, Tony Brill gets a big win in the Big 8, 27-20 your final score. Chaparral over Murrieta Mesa, 46-20 your final score in that one. Murrieta Valley over Great Oak, 26-6. Paloma Valley and Elsinore, that's the one Chris will have, 31-28 your final score. Summit and Kaiser with that stingy defense, but it is not enough against the Skyhawks, 29-7 your final on that one. Centennial all over Corona, 61-24 in Big 8 action. Redlands had no problem on homecoming against Miller, 54-6 your final score, so a big win for the Terriers. Tockwitz and Hemet, Tockwitz a winner, 51-7 if you can't see it in the corner. Jurupa Valley and Moreno Valley, Moval, 42-0, the shutout for the Vikings tonight. Vista Marietta and Temecula Valley, 58-14. The Broncos are a winner. And Heritage had no problem with Paris tonight, 52-6 in Sun Belt League play. And the game we've been alluding to, Paloma Valley and Elsinore. Let's go over live in the HS Gametime Lounge. Chris is back from his trip to Elsinore, and man, it went down to the wire.
It was a voyage. It went down to the wire. It was well worth it, Pep. Pretty much on our pick'em game, it was the one that people were really struggling with. Luckily, I was one of the fortunate ones to come up on the proper side of this one. I don't want to be a spoiler, though. If we have the highlights, though, we are more than ready to let the people see them because this was definitely a thriller, to say the least.
We're going to stretch because Angel's getting the highlights ready, but we can tell you that Paloma Valley was, or is, or maybe, what?
Oh, yeah, maybe
they took an undefeated record
coming into the game.
Yeah.
It was homecoming night. I will say the two, what would you call them? Light statues, or I don't even know.
Stadium lights.
Stadium light posts went out in the third quarter. We were playing almost not quite a blind, but definitely a dimmed version of the game, added to the excitement. Definitely also, I slow-moed it for us. A very controversial and interesting call for a touchdown by the refs. You'll get to see that and make your own decision. I believe we are ready for lunch. It was homecoming night, and they were putting on a show. They asked her, hey, who do you want your dream date to be for homecoming? Who'd she say? Pep Fernandez. The king of the night for Elsinore, though, would be Alan Stubbs. He punches it in from 2 yards out, 7-0 Tigers. David Solis for Paloma, though. He can run it a bit as well, taking off with the ground game. Breaks off to the left sideline, and touchdown it is, 7-7 tie. Still in the first quarter, another short yardage touchdown for the Tigers. This time it's Davis Peralta, son of the coach, sneaking in for the score, 14-7. The shootout continues. Take a look at this one. Brett Boehm, the QB for Paloma, throws to Ray Golden in the end zone. First ruled pass interference, but take a close look again. Not quite sure. They called this one a touchdown. I'm not quite sure that was a catch. 14-14, though, they called a tie at the moment. Now in the third quarter, Stubbs back to business, running it strong for Elsinore on the ground. His second touchdown of the game. 21-14, Elsinore would be the score. They would add on 3 more points in the third quarter with this 20-yard field goal from Diego Lopez. Now 24-14. Late in the third quarter, Alan Stubbs looking to put the game away. Lights out. I told you the lights went out. They would want to go lights out on undefeated Paloma Valley. He's off to the races for his third touchdown. 31-14 lead. Paloma, fourth quarter, not ready to throw in the towel just yet. Brett Boehm finds the end zone once again, cutting the lead to just 31-21 with time to spare. Now 6 minutes left in the game. Paloma makes it interesting as Solis punches in another TD. Just 31-28 with 6 minutes remaining. 1 minute remaining. Elsinore looking to push the lead to 6. The punt is blocked. That would set up one more golden opportunity for a drive by Paloma Valley. They would move their way downfield for a 37-yard field goal. That one would fall short, though, as Elsinore hangs on for the 31-28 victory. Pep, it was pandemonium out there in Elsinore today. Coach Peralta, Coach Esposito embracing after the game. Definitely a well-fought battle, that's for sure.
Drama out there. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, my.
So the Sun Belt League is all shaken up now. So
it is shaken up.
You got to throw Heritage in there in the mix as well. And,
yeah.
I mean,
but some of the guys on the sideline, not the players, but some of the fans were acting like they were more excited for the Temescal Canyon game next week for Elsinore. But hey, rewind. How about the game tonight?
That's a big win.
That one's going on HSGT Classic, I think.
You know what? We knew Elsinore was good. I was at when they played Rancho Verde in their season opener, and I think we all picked Rancho Verde because, defending CIF champs and whatnot. And Elsinore, as our sports editor David Zink would say, they're sneaky good. They're not overwhelming. Yeah,
they don't have a big passing game, but Stubbs, that guy can sure grind the ball down the field. That's what they do. They like to roll the clock. Paloma was kind of going flashy with some of those deep balls as we saw in the game. That one was a little bit more generous, I think.
To Ray Golden.
than it should have been, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But Paloma a little bit more flashy with their offense with the deep ball. They made a nice push there at the end. They were down 31-14 going into the fourth quarter. Almost went John Elway with their fourth quarter comeback, but not quite. They needed Jason Elam out there kicking that 37-yarder, and I don't think he's eligible for high school football anymore.
Speaking of comebacks, I thought you were going to drop the captain comeback, Jim Harbaugh. We're both 49er fans.
I threw an Elway in there. I mean,
close enough. All right, thanks, Chris. You will be back. We'll reset these highlights a little bit later in the show, but that takes us right to our HS Gametime poll question this week. Angel, let's roll that out. And we had a question this week about which team that maybe is not their favorite in their league has a chance to actually win it. Maybe not the front runner, but still a very good team. Well, we had Paloma Valley in there. Maybe they can still sneak in there. There's still a chance. It's still early in the league season. But we had Paloma Valley, Murrieta Valley, Banning, Beaumont, Poly, Yucaipa, and Norco. And actually, Paloma Valley had the most votes. We're going to end the voting tomorrow. We'll have the final results on the Saturday Scouting Report football show. But Paloma Valley did have the most votes. Poly was second place, and then everyone else was a log jam behind those top two. But it went Paloma Valley first, Poly second, and then everybody else. All right, back here live in the studio. We've got a lot more highlights coming your way here on the big live show. Plus, we'll run down all your scores. But first, we're going to take a quick timeout, and then we'll be back with all your video action.
Tyron Smith, the Dallas Cowboys, offensive tackle, and you're watching HS Gametime Live.
And welcome back to HS Gametime Live. EPJ at the big Santiago Norco game, bringing back some video highlights. I'm cutting them right now, editing them on the laptop, so we'll have those in just a little bit. But first, we want to take you out to the big Arlington Poly game, and it was very special for this reason. Angel, let's roll that video because the Poly Bears had a very special guest tonight, Cody Smith, as we told you about, a player for Poly who recently was diagnosed with a form of cancer. And he's been going through chemo, and a lot of his teammates at Poly and the coaches have been shaving their heads, and they've been there, supporting him along the way. Well, he was actually at the game against Arlington tonight at Ramona Stadium, and it was great to see Cody Smith out there wearing his jersey along with his friends, just being out there at the game and, just being one of the guys. So it was great to see Cody Smith out there. You can see he's doing the coin toss for the Bears. And if we can go to the soundbite, we have some video of Cody Smith talking about the game. He was kind of sizing up Arlington and what he thought about the Lions.
Arlington, they've always been one of our toughest rivals, so it's definitely gonna be an exciting game. So I know that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I still think every time we face them, we always have that spark, and we always have that kind of form of excitement every time we play these guys. I'm always excited when we play them, so I'm definitely ready for an exciting game.
All right. So it means a lot to you to be here then?
Oh, it means a ton to me to be out here. I mean, I couldn't make it to last week's game. I feel really good to be out here.
So great to see Poly's Cody Smith out there on the sidelines for the Bears. But would they treat him to a victory against Arlington? And this was a huge game. Both teams entered the game 2-0 in the Inland Valley League. Also, big-time rivals, both being from Riverside. And who would grab the inside track to the IVL crown this season? Let's go to those videos. We have some early highlights from this game. We had Dennis Pope out there covering it for the newspaper, and he also shot some bonus videos. So we'll have that video on the Saturday Scouting Report. But we can show you here early in the game, Poly drove down the field trying to punch it in and get Cody Smith a touchdown here in this early in the game. But, man, that Arlington defense standing tall and turning the Bears away. In fact, Pauley could not find the end zone all night long as Arlington goes on to win by a final score of 27-3. So Arlington 3-0 now in the IVL, and as I mentioned, we'll have more highlights from Arlington versus Pauley in the Saturday Scouting Report, so you don't want to miss that. And we'll also have more from Cody Smith in the Monday morning pep rally. So, Cody, we're all pulling for you here at HS Gametime. We'll have more with Cody in the Monday morning pep rally. All right, moving on, let's go back and check the big scoreboard. Our guy Javier Cabrera has been updating a couple scores, still trickling in, and looks like the Sty Hairston Experience in Banning, they beat Jurupa Hills 35-26. This just in, so we just got that score. That's awesome. Centennial beats Corona 61-24 as we kind of jump around the board. Tony Burrell and Roosevelt 27-20 over King tonight. La Sierra, Mark Rechtenwald, their head coach. He's got a great Howard Cosell impersonation. 34-14, as you can tell, I don't have a good impersonation, but La Sierra is a winner, 34-14 your final score. And Santiago, in a Big 8 play, knocks off Norco, 32-26 your final score. All right, back here live in the studio. We're going from the Big 8 now to the Citrus Belt League, where Redlands East Valley, as we told you, they had a very tough non-league schedule, but head coach Kurt Bruick says they are now battle-tested, and hopefully it will pay off as they enter CBL play. Let's go out there, Angel, to this is actually Citrus Valley High School in Redlands. That's where they're playing their home game. And the highlights, and all the highlights, brought to you by Hemet Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, your hometown dealer. Check out their first anniversary sale. There's my boy, BG3, Billy Gustafson III, the quarterback for Yucaipa. There's the quarterback for Redlands East Valley, Levi Plant. A little shovel pass to Taylor Thompson. Nice gain here for the Wildcats. They continue to march down the field. And how about the old halfback pass? This one works to a T and nearly gets him into the end zone. Later on that drive, though, Redlands East Valley facing 4th down. They go for it, and they give the ball to Taylor Thompson. T&T gets into the end zone. He trots in as Rev goes up 6-0. But BG3 and Yucaipa goes to work on offense. Gustafson hooks up with Eric Abrams for the big gain. And then later, Gustafson to Brandon Scott, his favorite target, the big tight end, 888. He hauls in the pass. And then later on that drive, they go to the ground game and they give the ball to Shane Rush. Of course he's going to rush in the ball with a name like Rush. And that would give Yucaipa the 7-6 lead. Back comes Redlands East Valley. Levi Plant to Hakeem McKenzie. Hakeem, the dream, gets the first down for the Wildcats. And then it's Alonzo Anderson. Check out the big run right into your living room. Look out. Man, the camera guy better watch out because Alonzo's coming right at him. And then later on that same drive, Plant on the keeper. Get in there. 12-7, Redlands East Valley on top. And then how about some Rev defense? You got to talk about Kylie Fitz, the USC commit, making a big-time tackle there in the backfield. And then that would give Rev the ball back just before halftime, playing to Daniel Gonzalez. That's how you do it. 19-7, Rev on top. And the Wildcats go on to the victory by final score of 36-7. So nice win for Redlands East Valley. Now moving on to the Mountain Valley League, Rubidoux may be the team to beat in this league, and they were taking on a tough team also from Redlands, Citrus Valley High School. Angel, let's go out there, Rubidoux High School. And the Falcons looking to stand tall against Citrus Valley, who's got some talented players like their quarterback, Dalton Douglas, off the bootleg. He's off on the run. Nice gain there. They go for the field goal. That's not going to work. Dalton Douglas tries to run with it, but DeAndre Washington not having it, makes the stop. Second quarter, quarterback Jalen Pontius to Joe Fields down inside the 5-yard line for Rubidoux, and that would set up this. Washington goes in for the touchdown, 7-zip, Rubidoux on top. How about some Falcons defense now? Daniel Young, watch this. He's going to go upstairs, snags this ball, and he's got the interception. So, you know, Daniel Young did the work. Might as well get paid. Give him the ball, gets into the end zone for the score, and Rubidoux goes on to beat Citrus Valley by a final score of 24-6. All right, moving on to San Jacinto, and the Tigers were breaking in a brand new stadium in their league opener against Citrus Hill. And man, the Hawks are off to a great start again and one of the teams to beat. But San Jacinto gave them a ball game tonight. Angel, let's go out there to San Jacinto and let's take a look at their new digs. There it is. What do you think? Tiger Stadium out there in San Jacinto. We've got more video of the big celebration to crack open that stadium. We'll have that on the Saturday Scouting Report. So check back for more on San Jacinto and Tiger Stadium. And it started off great for San Jacinto tonight. Citrus Hill with the ball, but the Tiger defense, they forced the turnover, and San Jacinto would capitalize on their favorite pastry, the turnover. That is Pedro Murrieta hooking up with Malik Kimbrough in for the touchdown. And San Jacinto, on their big special night, they go up 7-zip on Citrus Hill. And then how about another fumble? San Jacinto just causing the turnovers early. It started off great for the Tigers, but Citrus Hill would spoil the big special night with their new stadium, winning by a final score in this one of, where was it, 30-14. So San Jacinto, they've got a brand new stadium, and they played Citrus Hill very tough, but they do come up just a little bit short. All right, not too far from there, our videographer, our star videographer, Javier Cabrera, went from San Jacinto over to Beaumont. And Beaumont, man, it was just a big party out there, Javier said. Angel, let's go check out the video because it was popping off at Beaumont Stadium. Homecoming for the Cougars. I mean, they bust out the fireworks. That's big time, right? And there's the homecoming king and queen, Dylan and Amanda. Congratulations. You're on HS Gametime Live. Does it get any better than that? Well, this is pretty good, too. Greg Rincon, the big run for Beaumont right there. And then later, it's Rincon going in for the touchdown. And Beaumont was up big time, 38-0 on West Valley, but you can never count out the Mustangs. Lorenzo Terry, the catch here, and he's right by the goal line. And that would set up this. The quarterback, Austin Roselle, on the loose. And watch, the ball's going to pop out, but it's going to go right to a good man. John Goodman for the touchdown. That made it 38-7. And West Valley still trailing in this one at the half. Third quarter, though, West Valley comes out firing. Roselle to Terry. Touchdown, West Valley. Then Roselle to that good man. Goodman, 75 yards, gets behind the secondary, and he is gone. In for the score. And West Valley trying to make this a ball game, but Beaumont would not take their foot off the gas. Joe Jeffers had a big game, 218 yards, and Jeffers goes into the paint on this touchdown run. And Beaumont, the big winner tonight on homecoming, so that's good. They get to celebrate out there tonight. And we'll want more from these guitar guys, too, in our big show on Saturday. But Beaumont is a winner by a final score. Let me find it on the big board over here. Beaumont. Anyone? 45-26. Beaumont is a winner against West Valley, 45-26 once again. All right, I was just checking out the big board. It's right over there, Angel. You know the drill. Let's go check out some of those scores from week 6 of the high school football season. There's Beaumont. There it is. Top, just your second row from the right all the way to the top. Beaumont 45, West Valley 26. Chris Erickley, I see him pacing around the newsroom. He can't wait to get back in here and tell us all about Elsinore and Paloma Valley. 31-28, your final score in that one. And as I mentioned, we've got some Santiago and Norco highlights coming your way. 32-26, the Sharks, Jeff Steinberg, they get it done in a Big 8 league action. All right, before we get to Paloma Valley and Elsinore, those highlights, we're going to take you back to Thursday night and tell you about some of those games there, including the first game ever in the River Valley League. Norta Vista hosting Ramona, the maiden voyage for this new league, and Norta Vista, the Braves, figuring to be one of the teams in the mix to bring home that league championship. So let's rewind to Thursday night and show you those highlights. Tonight's highlights brought to you by Hsgt Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, your hometown dealer. Check out their first-year anniversary sale. I'm talking about Hsgt Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pick things up in the first quarter. Braves with the ball. Andre Castanon breaks loose 55 yards on this touchdown run, and Norta Vista goes on top 6-0. Then later, Andrew Martinez. He's going to take this one into the paint and gives Novi the 14-0 lead. The Braves all over the Rams in the first half. Justin Spillman, the quarterback, hooks up with Victor Gonzalez. Make it 21-zip, Norta Vista. But Ramona would catch a break before halftime. They force the fumble, and the Rams recover deep into Novi territory. Quarterback Damon Mays would find Malcolm Ballard to get the Rams on the board. 21-7, Ramona trailing at the half. third quarter, Norta Vista eats up more than 8 minutes with a 17-play drive capped off by this Ulysses Leon touchdown that makes it 27-7 Braves. Then later, it's Spillman showing he can throw again to Sal Sena in for the touchdown. 34-7 Novi. Then late in the game, Ramona still trying to go through the air to get some points, but there is Danny Demas for the Braves. The pick six house call as Norta Vista wins the very first game in the River Valley League, 41-7.
Well, obviously, you always want to start league with a win, but I was really proud of our defense and our offensive line. The defense really did a great job of shutting down Ramona. I'm really happy with our offensive line play. We ran for almost 400 yards, and people know we're going to run the ball, and they did a great job up front.
And then our offense, our line was amazing. Quarterback had a good enough time to throw the ball, and then the running backs just ran it in.
Welcome back to HS Gametime Live. That was one of two Thursday night games. The other game pitted North against Canyon Springs in Inland Valley League action, and Canyon Springs gave the Huskies all they could handle in this one. Chris Erickley was at the game and has the highlights.
Some may have thought coming into the game that the North Husky offense would be too much for Canyon Springs to handle, but on Thursday night, the Cougars would not be intimidated. North would hop on the scoreboard first. It's their go-to guy in the backfield, Denzel Foster, cashing in on his first TD of the night for the 7-0 lead, but this game would be anything but easy. Mid-second quarter, we have a ball game. QB Chris Whitfield tosses up the jump ball, and just as planned, it's off the hands of the Huskies and caught by A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez for the Cougar TD. And after a missed PAT, it's 7-6 North. Still in the second quarter, North would be back at it again with their bread and butter. Denzel Foster going to work once again. He puts on his dancing shoes, shaking a couple Cougar defenders on his way to a 55-yard score. And Husky Nation is feeling good with the 14-6 lead. The ground game would begin to backfire a bit on the Huskies in the second half. Still with the 14-6 lead, Foster coughs up the pigskin, and it's recovered by the Cougars. Early fourth quarter, Christian Owens would cash in on the North turnover for the Cougars. He rolls to the left sideline and tumbles his way into the end zone. The two-point conversion is no good, now 14-12 North. Just under 4 minutes left in the game, a golden opportunity for Canyon Springs to take the lead. Just 20 yards away from a score, and pop goes the peanut. Yet another fumble, and the ball goes to the Huskies. From there, Denzel Foster would redeem himself and put the Cougars to bed with his third TD of the night as North pulls out the 21-12 win on the road.
This is a tough league. I always said we're coming into this league, and Canyon Springs has outstanding players. I tell you this, they played great tonight. I mean, they played outstanding, and you know, they shoved the ball right down our throats, and they stopped us, kept us off balance, our offense.
Canyon Springs put up a good fight, but North hanging on in that Inland Valley League game. Remember, we're on Facebook and Twitter. Big shout out to Dylan Marsh. He plays for Heritage. He wanted to say, hey, Pep, we won 52-6, the final score. Heritage over Paris, 52-6, your final score. So you can hit us up on Twitter or Facebook as well. All right, when we come back on HS Gametime Live, we're going to run down all the highlights one more time and show you the scores from Week 6 of the high school football season. We'll be right back.
Reporting for the Press Enterprise and PE.com. I'm here in
Welcome back to HS Gametime Live. Chris Erkley joining us with the big game of the night, Paloma Valley and Elsinore.
We billed it as the game of the week, and unlike some of the other weeks, this one actually lived up to
we
the
got
billing.
It right.
Yeah, it did not disappoint. It came down to the final seconds, and seeing as it was homecoming night out in Elsinore, the lights went out. It would definitely be a knockout of a game. Let's roll out there to the highlights. Homecoming night, so of course you got to crown a queen. She asked, hey, who would be my dream date to homecoming? How about sports editor David Zink? But hey, he's married, so he's off the market. Stubbs, though, maybe that could be your date. He punches it in for the 2-yard score, 7-0 Tigers. David Solis from Paloma, he's got some game on the ground as well. Check out him taking off to the left side, breaking off for a touchdown of his own, 7-7 tie. Still in the first quarter, another short yardage TD for the Tigers. This time it's Davis Peralta, son of the coach, sneaking in for the 14-7 score. The shootout continues. Check out a little controversy here. The touchdown by Paloma, the catch by Ray Golden. And not quite sure this catch was so golden or that it existed at all, but it was scored a touchdown. Interesting. 14-14 tie. Now third quarter, Stubbs back at it again with the running game, running up the mileage like he's a 200-yard or 200,000-mile Chevy. 21-14 now the score for Elsinore. Tigers continue to put on the points. This time it's a 20-yard field goal for Diego Lopez. 24-14 the score. Late in the third quarter, Alan Stubbs trying to put Paloma to bed. The lights went out. He was trying to knock their lights out. This time with a 50-yard touchdown for Stubbs. 31-14 the lead. Now in the fourth quarter, Paloma not quite ready to throw up. Jim Harbaugh, the comeback kid, Brent Baum, a.k.a. also known as name, finds the end zone for yet another touchdown, 31-21 the lead. Now just 6 minutes remaining. They'd run in another touchdown, cutting the lead to 31-28. 1 minute remaining. Elsinore looking to push the lead to 6. Their field goal is blocked. That would set up a prime time opportunity for Paloma to push the ball down the field and tie the game with a field goal. One last shot from 37 yards. But that one went about 27. It would end up in Elsinore hanging on for the win on homecoming night, 31-28. It would be all handshakes and hugs after the game, though. Definitely a thriller to the finish tonight, Pep. It did not disappoint.
Wow, man, the Sun Belt League, I can't wait to see how this all shakes down. I mean, Heritage will be in the mix, and you said a lot of them were fired up for, Temescal Canyon next week.
Next week. Apparently, I guess that's the hot rivalry for those Elsinore guys. But hey, after the way that game went tonight against Paloma Valley, and much less Paloma Valley coming in undefeated coming into that game, just Elsinore, hey, they ruined the party for Rancho Verde on the opening night, and then they ruined the party for Paloma Valley tonight. Apparently, they're just crushing everyone's dreams, I guess.
Yeah, we had Paloma Valley up for which school that's not a typical, perennial power in their league could, win their league championship, and we submitted Paloma Valley for the Sun Belt, and look what happens.
They do have a flashy passing game. They were showing it off a bit tonight versus that Elsinore kind of grinder run game that you saw, led by Stubbs. The guy's a machine. 3 touchdowns for him tonight. I know your buddy, number 20, was on the sideline
Shane Pico, where was my boy at?
He was injured. He was providing some sideline commentary. Actually, on that last touchdown by Stubbs, I wanted an exact measurement. He actually did the dash over to the stat boy, got the reading, and reported it back to me. So one Gatorade for him after the game, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate that. Big win for Elsinore tonight. All right, Angel, moving on. Let's go to that Patriot La Sierra game. And this was another game from that River Valley League that was created this season. And as we told you, Johnny Salazar now playing receiver. And La Sierra kind of mixing up with a new quarterback, but they can still run the ball. That was Jonathan the Real McCoy with a big run for the Eagles. And then later, Derek Cruz in at quarterback. The nice pass to move the chains. And then Cruz, the deep ball. That puts La Sierra at the 1 yard line. And they give it to McCoy, and he's going to go in for the touchdown. La Sierra goes on to defeat Patriot by a final score of 34-14. All right, back here live in the studio, another game that just came in, Kaiser and Summit. Kaiser was 5-0 to start the season. They were off to a great start, and they've got that real stingy defense, but could they do it against Summit? So let's go ahead and roll that video because I have not even seen it yet. And it looks like Kaiser with the ball, and they're going to push this one in for the touchdown. And, they can run the ball. They can play great defense. But Summit, man, they can do a lot of everything. They've got a lot of weapons on that team. And that looks like Tariq Miles, I want to say, maybe. I'll have to ask Tim Dutton, who's here. Tim, hurry and take a seat here, and you can tell us more about this Kaiser Summit game. You did a story on Kaiser. We know their defense great. They were undefeated, but tonight against Summit just couldn't get it to go their way, it seems like.
Their defense is really good. Their offense struggled a bit tonight. Summit's got a very good defense, very aggressive, and they shut the run down, and they made Kaiser throw the football, and that's not Kaiser's strength. Kaiser threw 3 interceptions, all 3 of them by Justin Strong, very good safety who's going to Oregon State.
Yeah.
Good game. 13-7 when Kaiser scored on the first play of the fourth quarter. Thought we were going to get a good one, and then Junior Davis breaks off a 68-yard run for Summit, puts them up by 2 touchdowns. Kaiser's now got to throw the ball in again.
That's not
that's not their deal, and they put it away, a 35-yard run by Tariq Miles, I'm sorry, in the fourth quarter. So very, very good game by Summit.
Well put. That's not their deal. That's not their deal. But I saw Summit against Redlands earlier this season. They look great. I mean, they're coming off a CIF title. They lost a lot of guys. Tony Brill's gone, but I mean, how'd you see Summit tonight? Have they reloaded?
They've definitely reloaded. They've got 2 very good running backs, Strong and Miles. Their defense, I think, is a little underrated. It's very active. I mean, they filled gaps. They really did a good job stopping Kaiser's running game. And they've got a lot of speed. Everybody's scared to death of their speed. So they're already talking about nice league opener. That's probably the toughest game they're going to play in league. They're already looking at trying to get probably the top seed in their division for the playoffs.
So going into it, did you think the lower the score, obviously the better for the Kaiser, the higher the score, that would go in Summit's favor?
Most definitely. The fewer big plays in the game probably was going to benefit Kaiser, and Summit's defense and their offense had the big plays tonight.
And what about Kaiser? I mean, they were 5-0. You did the story on their linebackers and their great defense and stuff. And but you said Summit with all that speed and weapons. I mean, just a little too much for them, I guess, tonight.
Definitely. Kaiser's a good football team. They really are. Very good defense, and they can run the ball. But Summit's at that next level. So don't read too much in as far as Kaiser not being good. But Summit probably is that good.
I pick Kaiser. Teams that can run the ball and play defense. I like teams that can play defense and run the ball. But
well, Summit did that, both of those things very well, and they had that extra ingredient, the speed. So too much.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. Angel, let's go back to the big scoreboard and check out some of those scores from Week 6 of the high school football season. Hey, there's a new one on the board, RIM. And they're RIM of the World hosting Notre Dame tonight. And final score, wow, RIM all over the Titans, 69-20, the final in that one. So the Titans go up the mountain and they come back with a big loss. And I think we're trying to get highlights of this one as well. So we'll see you on the Saturday Scouting Report if you're a Notre Dame fan. So check that out for sure. And as we mentioned, Tony Brill left Summit and he's now at Roosevelt. They pick up a win against King, 27-20, your final score. So as you kind of glance over those scores from Week 6 of the high school football season. All right, as we mentioned to you earlier, Cody Smith, the player from Pauley who was recently diagnosed with cancer, was at the game tonight for the Bears as they took on Arlington in a very key Inland Valley League game. It was great to see Cody. We'll have more with Cody on the Saturday Scouting Report as well as the Monday morning pep rally, but we're just so pumped that he was able to make it out there, hang out with the guys, wear his jersey. So it was great to see you out there, Cody. It was awesome. We'll have more with him, like I said, on Saturday and the Monday show. But to the highlights, Angel, let's roll the little bit of highlights we have from early in this game. Pauley taking on Arlington, and they were trying to get Cody a touchdown early. Pauley drove down the field, but Arlington and that stout defense standing up the Bears near the goal line. They would not let them in. In fact, they didn't let Pauley into the end zone all night long because Arlington went on to win by a final score of 27-3. A great defensive effort for Arlington, and 27-3. They're now 3-0 in the Inland Valley League, and so a big win for Arlington. All right, now moving on to we're going to go to the land of the Big 8. Let's come back here live in the studio, and we're going to talk about Santiago and Norco tonight. And the Sharks have Norco's number, and they got it again. They got it done tonight. EPJ standing by to kind of break it down. But, Angel, let's roll the video that we have. We got a couple highlights in. We'll have more on the Saturday Scouting Reports. But looks like Michael Dar, he can run, he can throw. He's just a great athlete. He can also play a pretty mean center field. Great baseball player. Gets loose on this one, goes in for the touchdown. You saw the Norco coach kind of throw his hands up. What do you do with that guy? He's just too good. And then I believe that's Dorian Barnett, I want to say. A nice pass play there.
Then he fumbles.
Then he fumbles, so Norco recovers.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get Joe Hsgt in the mix. He's going to go in for a touchdown for Norco. As you can see, it kind of went back and forth. But Santiago, the big winner tonight by final score of 32-26. So EPJ, was it really as close as the score indicated?
Yeah, it was close throughout. I mean, Santiago pretty much held a double-digit lead most of the game. Norco was able to cut it down to that 6-point margin late, went for the onside kick. Santiago actually kind of kicked it around a bit, but Dylan Merchant coming up with the big recovery to kind of seal that game. But game turned out kind of what I think everyone expected. It was Colton Gerhardt versus Michael Dar, who was going to make more plays, and both of them made a ton of them. Dar just came up with some really clutch plays late.
How was Colton? Because he's still nursing an injury, right? Or was he 100%?
I mean, his hamstring was still a little tight. You know, his dad was a little worried on how it would hold up, but he did a great job. He made some big plays with his feet as well. So Colton tonight, 126 yards rushing, and he threw for 185. Michael Dar throwing for 266 and a touchdown.
Wow.
And also ran for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. So,
well, in your eyes, does this lessen the big Centennial Norco matchup, or does this just heighten the Santiago Centennial matchup for you?
Yeah, I think it does both. I mean, Norco Centennial is still going to be a big game no matter what. That's out there. But for Santiago, it gives them that boost of going into Centennial that, that's the one team Santiago has never beaten in league play. They're 0 for, I'd have to look at the numbers. But
a lot.
It's 0 for about 19, I believe, now against Centennial. But I'll check that numbers, yeah. But they have confidence now. This offense is rolling. They had the bye week last week, and they're starting to get, a little bit more players involved offensively. It's not just Michael Dar. Tonight, Joey Camarillo with 92 yards rushing. So another person coming up with some big plays.
And we should bear in mind that Santiago nearly knocked off Upland, right?
We know how dangerous their offense can be. And, that's the big thing. They got playmakers all around at receiver. Their defense coming at, kind of a bend but don't break defense. They'll give up some points, but they do come up with some big turnovers. And, of course, that's just been Norco's downfall. A couple key fumbles tonight. They were driving on the opening drive, about to get ready to score a touchdown, leave the ball in the end zone on a fumble. Santiago recovers. Kind of didn't recover in the first half.
Well, I got you here. We were both at the inaugural game for the River Valley League between Norta Vista and Ramona, and I was impressed by Novi. Well, I mean, any team that can run the ball and play defense, I'm sold on. What did you think of Norta Vista last night?
Yeah, they probably the best game that they've played all year, and we know what Norta Vista is going to do offensively. They like to power, the ball, just split it between 2-3 guys and just march down the field. But, I was talking to Coach Batdorf after the game. The one thing he said is this is probably the most confidence in a defense he's had in quite a long time. And, their front seven's getting a lot of pressure. That front seven led by Salsina on the defensive line, and their secondary is fantastic. We kind of saw the ball hawking, DBs and safeties out there with 3 interceptions in that game. So definitely the big showdown next week. Hosting Moreno Valley, so that'll be a huge one for those two teams.
Yeah, Mo Val's got some size and some good skill guys too. I mean, any early prediction or what will dictate this game?
I think Moreno Valley has to be considered the favorite. We'll have to see also how DeAndre Castanon is with that ankle injury. He's one of their big running backs. So, but Moreno Valley is going to be able to have that size and push them around. But I think that's just going to come down to who can control the ball. A little bit more than the other ones. Both teams are going to probably run the ball and just try to control the clock. Whoever can finish those drives will win that game.
And they'll be the front runner, the inside track for the River Valley League crown, the first. All right, thanks, EPJ. We appreciate it. Angel, let's go to Redlands East Valley one more time as they were taking on Yucaipa tonight in Citrus Belt League action. They're actually playing at Citrus Valley High School, also in Redlands, because Rev doesn't have their home field. So, Angel, if we can go out there to Redlands East Valley taking on Yucaipa, and the highlights, and all the highlights tonight, brought to you by Hemet Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, your hometown dealer. Check out their first anniversary sale. The Wildcats all fired up. They're taking on BG3, Billy Gustafson III, the Yucaipa quarterback. And early on, it's the Rev quarterback, Levi Plant, a little shovel pass to Taylor Thompson moving the chains for the Wildcats. Down the field they go. And then later on that same drive, the old halfback pass. You know, Corona loves it. Here's Rev busting it out. Takes the big hit there, but they hold on. They're down by the goal line. 4th down, and Rev's going for it. They want the touchdown here, and they give the ball to TNT. Taylor Thompson in for the touchdown. 6-0 Wildcats on top. Here comes BG3 moving the T-Birds down the field. He hooks up with Eric Abrams here on that pass. And then later he's going to find his favorite target, the big man, Brandon Scott, the tight end, hauls in that pass. Same drive a little bit later, a couple plays later. They keep it on the ground. They go to Shane Rush. Number 6 bounces outside. He's in for the score, and Yucaipa goes on top 7-6. Now it's Redlands East Valley back on the attack. It's Levi Plant to the Dream, Hakeem, McKenzie. Nice catch there. Then later on that same drive, it's Alonzo Anderson getting the call. The big run here right into your living room. Look out now. Alonzo Anderson, the nice run there for the Wildcats. Same drive, Levi Plant takes the plunge in on the quarterback keeper, and Redlands East Valley goes on top by a score of 12-7. Then later, about some Rev defense. That's my guy, Kylie Fitz. He's got the big stop there. He's heading to USC. And then, right before halftime, Plant to Daniel Gonzalez, the touchdown strike. Redlands East Valley led 19-7 at the half, and the Wildcats go on to a win by a final score of 36-7. So they win their CBL opener against the T-Birds. All right, moving on to the Mountain Valley League. Rubidoux at home taking on Citrus Valley. You know, we just had the highlights from Citrus Valley. Now it's actually Citrus Valley High School in action. So, Angel, let's go out to Rubidoux High School. And the Falcons wearing some pink for breast cancer awareness. That's great to see. Citrus Valley's quarterback, Dalton Douglas, on the run. And he's got the chain gang moving on that one. They go for the field goal. That's not going to work. Dalton Douglas is brought down. He's the holder. That's DeAndre Washington making the stop there. And then the second quarter, it's Falcons quarterback Jalen Pontius to Joe Fields. He's going to go down inside the 5, and that would set up this. Washington, get in there for the touchdown. 7-zip, Rubidoux on top in the second quarter. How about some Falcon defense, because they were flying around. Daniel Young goes upstairs and gets that one. INT for Daniel Young. He did the work. Time to get paid. He cashes in with the touchdown as Rubidoux goes on to win by a final score of 24-6. All right, now we're taking you out to San Jacinto because the Tigers had something very cool to show off, something brand new. Angel, let's roll that video as San Jacinto was showing off their brand new football stadium, their new field for the first time, Tiger Stadium. What do you think? It looks pretty nice. I love the new digs. We'll have more on their new stadium in the Saturday Scouting Report. Well, the Tigers were opening Mountain Pass play against Citrus Hill, the heavy favorite in this league. And early on, though, it was Tigers on a roll. They force the fumble, so they recover. And so San Jacinto goes on offense. Pedro Murrieta to Malik. Kimbrough goes upstairs and gets that one in for the touchdown. And San Jacinto with their early lead on their special night with the new stadium. And then they force another fumble against Citrus Hill. So it started off great for the Tigers, but Citrus Hill would battle back, and they go on to defeat San Jacinto by a final score of 30-14. So they kind of spoil their new stadium, but still very cool. And as I said, we'll have more on the stadium in the Saturday Scouting Report. All right, and one more game before we check out for the live show at least. It's West Valley and Beaumont. And our guy Javier Cabrera, our videographer who shot the game, said it was a big party out there. So, Angel, let's roll the highlights because it was popping off out there in Beaumont. They break out the fireworks for homecoming. They don't mess around out there in Beaumont. That's why we love them. Dylan, Amanda, King, and Queen, that's royalty out there, folks, out there in Beaumont. Well, this guy should be royalty. Greg Rincon, man. He's a great football player. Big gain there, and then they give the ball back to Rincon. He goes in for the score. And Beaumont led 38-0 against West Valley. But you can never count out the Mustangs. You know, Lorenzo Terry, well, there he is on the other end of that pass, hauls it in, and he's near the goal line, and they would punch it in on a kind of a weird play. Quarterback Austin Roselle rolls out. The ball is loose, but it falls right into the hands of a good man. John Goodman, the touchdown, 38-7, though, at the half, West Valley trailing. Now to the third quarter, the Mustangs come out firing. They close the gap. Roselle to Terry for the touchdown, and then Roselle to Goodman. He gets behind the secondary, and he is gone. 75 yards on that touchdown. That made it a little bit closer, but Beaumont would not let up in this one. Joe Jeffers, the running back, had another big game. 218 yards for Jeffers. He goes in for the score here as Beaumont beats West Valley by a final score of 45-26. All right, before we go, one more time, we're going to check out the big board and show you all the scores that we've got on there from week 6 of the high school football season. There they are. Take one more glimpse at them. As I tell you, we'll be back on Saturday with the scouting report. We will have highlights here. I'm going to do the math real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We will have highlights from 15 different high school football games on the Saturday scouting report. And we'll also talk a little more football on the Monday morning pep rally, so you can check that out as well. All right, back here live in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us on HS Gametime Live, and a big shout out to Hemet Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram for joining the team and sponsoring the show. We really appreciate it. And remember, the Saturday Scouting Report. Check back about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and we will break it all down from week 6 of the high school football season. I'm Pep Fernandez, and we'll see you next Friday with HS Gametime Live.